Welcome, guys, to Luke Hawkins' Student Spotlight. My name is Callum Holt, Head of Operations with Luke, and I'm here today joined by Jamie Flora. So she's a executive coach and resume writer, and as an executive coach and a resume writer, she helps senior leaders get clear on their next dream job, get hired, and get paid more than they expect, which I absolutely love. Jamie is currently in our Inner Circle program and absolutely smashing it. So I really want to bring her on to, give her an opportunity to share her journey and, of course, as well, what's working incredibly well for her and her business at the moment. So, Jamie, welcome to the podcast. If you could bring everyone up to speed, with your story, what you're doing before coaching, how you got to where you are now. Take it away.
Yeah, sure. So I was thinking about this in preparation. My story is kind of this intertwined story of an employee. I think it's like an entrepreneur who kept trying to be an employee. So I don't know at what point a person is a serial entrepreneur, but I think I'm probably trending that direction. I've been naturally inclined to sales, or a saleswoman, and didn't really know it until I married my husband, who's a financial advisor, which is a sales role. And he's like, babe, you would just kill it in sales. And I'm like, okay, whatever. But I started out in business administration, and I worked for Wells Fargo, which is a very large bank here in the States. We've got a little bit of a global presence, and worked for them for 13 years. During that time, I became really, really sick. Was really underweight, was super stressed, and could not figure out what was going on. It took me about 5 to 6 doctors to really get answers. Come to find out, I had celiac disease, which pointed to basically we could look back on my whole life and see these symptoms and instances, but it wasn't until I was, I think, 28 that I finally got the diagnosis. And I was also in a very, very stressful job at that point. I was the executive assistant to, are you ready? To the president of an ultra high net worth investment firm. So our clients had a minimum of $50 million to invest or more. So on the regular, we're working with clients with hundreds of millions of dollars, running around with the CEO of Wells Fargo and his operating committee. I mean, it was a full-on job, while I'm literally falling to pieces on the health front. I'm so thin at this point that I literally can only wear spandex because I can't keep pants on my body. And I'm not sleeping at night. It's like panic attacks every morning before going to work. And I'm physically ill from not knowing what food to eat. My body was like almost rejecting all food at that point. So I really felt like I was in a black hole, and really trying to crawl my way out of it. And I finally found what I call, I think, my 5th and final doctor, who helped me get better and helped identify the celiac disease. And I had a parasite, and we just basically took a nuclear bomb to my gut and started over. We just killed everything and started over. And coming out of that experience, one, I knew I needed to get out of the position that I was in, the executive assistant position, and get into a different position that offered more balance so that I could physically heal. But also, as I did physically heal, and I did I went into executive communications. As I got into that role, I realized I had so much energy that I wanted to help others through their health journey. And it really took me 5 to 7 years to get better. And I really wanted to shorten that journey for other people, whether it was an autoimmune disease they were finding out or just wanting to lose some weight. So I actually went and got certified as a personal trainer. You and I kind of have a similar background in that way. And I also started doing nutrition coaching. And it was a wonderful experience. I launched that in April of 2015, and I did that for about 5 years. Just hustling to make a buck and to make it work, and to listen to all the experts and how to do it and how to have online presence and see clients in person and yada, yada, yada. And after a year of that, I was no longer underweight. I wasn't trending overweight, but I was beefy. I was also lifting 45-pound plates and, barbells, like as a part-time job. I was working full-time at Wells Fargo while running this personal training business. So I like gained a lot. Like I went from like 100, I know this is US, 106 pounds up to like 136 pounds.
Damn.
Right. So it was good. I was healthy, but I also wasn't feeling good. I was really fatigued. So I'm like, you know what? There's got to be a smarter way to do this. And I really wanted to start I knew that my clients could go farther and I knew I could go farther as their coach. We were both hitting a ceiling. So it was time to go back to school. So I went and I got coach certification at the Life Coach School, and came out of that. At the end of that experience, I kind of went into a sabbatical, like a time of self-reflection for about 3 months, and just started asking myself questions like, what really lights me up? What really, like, where do I really want to serve people? Or what like magic do I have to offer the world? And what came to the foreground of my mind was resume writing and career coaching. What I had been doing for the last 13 years at Wells Fargo, I had been on the side of my administrative assistant jobs and my executive communication jobs. I had been helping people with their resumes for free. By the time I left Wells Fargo, I had helped more than 200 employees. No joke, 200 employees with their resumes. And just simply by like spending an hour or two with them on their resume, they were landing jobs that one could say aren't qualified for on paper, but I helped show how they actually were qualified for roles that they just thought, no way, there's no way I'm going to get hired for that. And, doing family and friends, helping them with their resumes as well. So I'm like, I think I have a knack here. I have a real gift, one for the editing piece of the resume, but even just taking the person and helping them remarket themselves and develop a high level of confidence to go into the job hunt process. So I took the foundation of my personal training and nutrition coaching business, and I reformulated it into executive coaching or career coaching and resume writing, and it has taken off. That's why I'm here today, right? You're like, hey, Jamie, we got to meet. I'm like, okay. It is just like bonkers. So I launched as an executive coach and resume writer in June 2020. Like I had my first sales, meeting, or I call it a consultation in June 2020, late June. I had my first client by July, and it has just been amazing to see what I've been able to create. Now I quit my full-time job at Wells Fargo on Friday the 13th. On August, Friday the 13th. So it hasn't even been 3 months yet. And I think, I haven't done the math, but if I looked, I feel like what I made in the first 8 months of 2020 nearly matches what I've made in the last 3 months, having gone full-time with the business.
Totally.
So somewhere in the 2020, 2021 timeframe, I'm usually a stickler for this. Somehow Luke Hawkins came into my sphere, came into my world. I don't know how he got in.
How did you find us?
Exactly. It's like, I have no idea. I literally, I was on one of the first calls with Luke, and I'm like, I'm going to go to my Chrome, browser history. And all I could find, there was no searching, there was no whatever. All of a sudden, he just shows up in his website, shows up in my history. And I'm like, I have no idea if it was LinkedIn, if it was Facebook or what, but somehow it's like he just came into my orbit. And I'm like, who is this guy? Why am I looking at a business coach in Australia when I live in the States, right? Whatever. I'm open to working with people globally, but I'm like, what is this guy all about? Yeah. And I come from, again, the Life Coach School is where I graduated from, and we have certain standards. I know it's nighttime here, but you can see, right? The background is nice, lighting's great. we are held to incredibly high standards as coaches, where we have it kind of like all put together, if you will, on the outside as we're trying to figure it out on the inside.
Yeah.
And what I really was attracted to about Luke and how he runs things is that it's almost like the heart was missing from my coaching experience and education. Like it all looked great, but like the real true care for me as a business coaching client, like as a client, in my other experiences, my other business coaching experiences, just wasn't there. When I met with him, it wasn't as well packaged and like all polished and whatever, right? Like he's like you, t-shirt, like it's a totally different brand.
Yeah.
But I think it was this opposites attract kind of scenario of like, I think he can show me how to execute like a boss. Like if I've got all this good, let's get the other stuff locked in. And what also was really great about him and what you do too, Callum and Adam, you guys just have this amazing heart for your clients. Like just, I see it in you, like the interview, how I mentioned I was watching a previous interview on the Student Spotlight, how genuinely curious you are about us and our success. And I think that like just shines through any little glossy packaging you might have.
Yeah. Thank you. It's lovely. Yeah, lovely thing. Yeah, I man, so many questions in there. I'm curious, like one of the things is like someone like you that spent 13 years, was it?
13.
Yeah, with Wells Fargo. How did you like that must have been hard to quit. I don't know, maybe it wasn't. Was it just like, bye, you know? Like, I don't know.
I'm going to go make more money and have more fun. See you later.
Yeah. Like in that time though, you formed some deep relationships and, you know, you would have like, you know, I don't know. Was there, you know, challenge there around leaving that and even going from, I mean, no matter how entrepreneurial you are, like there's a certain security around being on a salary compared to, you know, bring in your own hunt, you know, going out there and, you know, if you're having a crap day, you don't earn anything, you know.
So I think there's a couple of things that I think will help answer those questions. So when I was 22, 23 years old, I actually quit my corporate. I had another worked for a different company, full-time corporate job, and launched into my first, well, actually it was kind of my second business, if you will, of selling Mary Kay. So we were talking about that before I got on. So Mary Kay Cosmetics is a skincare and cosmetics company based out of Dallas, Texas. And I signed up with them and was selling skincare and cosmetics and developing, you know, growing a team. And by the time I was 23, I actually quit my full-time job. So I had like made the leap, if you will, before, but I was also 23.
Yeah.
I wasn't married. I didn't have a house. I didn't have dogs. You know, I didn't have any, like it was just like me in an apartment with my roommate.
Totally.
After being at Wells Fargo, you know, so one, it wasn't my first rodeo, but you're totally right. Having 13 years, that's a lot of loyalty, a lot of relationships built. The way that I ended, so I was really afraid I was going to freak out. Like I was going to quit. I was going to have my last day and I was going to go into like this emotional turmoil, right? And just like not come out for like 7 days, just sobbing or something, right? This huge, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But what I decided to do instead was practice ahead of time. So in my first business coaching program, before I met Luke, while I would come onto those calls, I would come dressed up like this. Like I wasn't the full-time coach yet, but I was going to dress up and show up at the level that I wanted to show up for my clients, literally starting in August 2020. So for a year, you know, that program was 6 months. And then I had a little bit of break. And then I met Luke and I went through his LinkedIn kind of self-service, if you will, LinkedIn, advanced LinkedIn course, and then joined Inner Circle. So but still, even after that first 6-month program, I still continued to show up to practice, to put myself in that future mindset of like, I'm not going to freak out. I know exactly what I'm doing. Also, I will give credit to my husband. He basically said, you can't quit your job until you replace your full-time income, which I'm like, this is insane. I have a 6-figure salary with Wells Fargo. How am I going to make this work? I'm not two people.
Yeah. I get that.
So that like really, that kept me in this box, if you will, like a workshop. Like I just continued to workshop my business model, my pricing model, how I was reaching out. It like put me in a pressure cooker of like, how can I make things efficient? And so with that really high standard that I was trying to reach, I was able, I think, to create what we're seeing today. We're just seeing what I created full time.
Yeah.
So before I joined Inner Circle, this is a cool little plug. My average monthly income was $4,000 to $5,000 US.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. Now, granted, I had a full-time job. Since leaving, so I left in August. In September, I pulled in 12,850 US, and last month I closed 19,250. This month is the 4th day of the month. And I feel like I want to do the math. If we can do the math quick. Hold on one second. This is going to be amazing.
I love it.
Okay. So like at this point in time, I'm waiting for over $5,700 to basically hit my bank. Like it's been processed. It's just ready. And that's just 4 days into this month.
Yeah.
I mean, it is just bonkers. I say it's bonkers to see what's been happening, but I'm digressing. So to leave Wells Fargo, I practiced ahead of time. I really put myself in that seat of like, you're not going to freak out. You know exactly what you're doing. You've been like, I would just look back and look at how much practice you've had. And everything else is figure out a bowl, right?
Yeah. So how did you, I guess the first thing I'd ask about that is like, especially new coaches, I talk to a fair few of them, new coaches, that they're in that kind of part of like working at the moment and then kind of wanting to coach and being like, should I just ditch my job and go full-time coaching? And they have 0 clients and they haven't made 1 sale yet. And it's like, depends how ballsy you want to be.
Yes.
Yeah, effectively. But I really like that strategy of like, kind of practicing and having a period where you're kind of doing both. Did you like kind of learn to do that like earlier on, when you were doing Mary Kay, or like, did that just kind of make sense, or how did you learn?
Yeah, maybe
to do that.
Maybe the first time was with Mary Kay before I did quit, for sure. And then I think when I was doing my personal training and nutrition coaching business, I was actually in a really weird spot with Wells Fargo where I actually didn't have a direct manager for 2.5 years. And I was reporting to an executive who had 900 people in her organization. So I was like a very small blip on her map. I played a very, very important role. I was doing executive reporting and communications, but I just wasn't needed very much. So I actually there were some weeks where I had less than 20 hours of work to do. And so what I did is turned, my husband and I, we lived in the city in Minneapolis, and old house built in 1904. But what they had done in the 90s was built what we call a mother-in-law suite in the backyard. So it was like a studio apartment with a bathroom, fully functional, electricity, the whole thing. I took that standalone building and turned it into a fitness center. And so in between meetings and work with Wells Fargo, I would scamper out to the backyard and train clients and then scamper back in and do my job. And so I think that's how probably I really learned how to manage my time and my efforts, if you will, and develop that efficiency of just getting really clear and getting really efficient processes in place where I could do a lot in a day.
Yeah, that's the other thing I'm kind of curious about that I wanted to kind of lean into. It was about how you balanced those two things in terms of like, even I think you said you were doing, like, before you quit in August, you were doing that part-time anyway. But still, like, I know plenty of people that have tried to kind of do like two things at the same time, and they kind of like, and I'm one of them. Like, I tried to do like personal training, mindset coaching, and an MLM business at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was just wild. And I like, at any given time, I was like, it was just a mess of trying to work out where I was diverting my energy.
Oh.
Right. And I'm sure that's the case as well. Like, when you have a full-time role or even a part-time role where, you know, that employer is somewhat calling on you, and then you're trying to also build a business and work out what to do there. How did you kind of like manage your time and structure and your day and your weeks to, like, not just not go crazy, but like make progress, I guess?
Yeah. Like, be in it and not be cuckoo.
Yeah. And I don't know, I guess when you're in your business during that time, you just have all your work tabs closed and you're just like, so as Wells Fargo, I'm not available at the moment.
No, I literally rocked 2 laptops. I mean, like, I think I'm actually on coaching calls. Like, I remember coaching through my school.
Yeah.
And I think there's a episode or like a recording of me where I'm like showing both my laptops of, like, I literally would sit with both my laptops on my desk. Maybe one is docked and one's not. And, you know, sending off an email via Wells Fargo and like getting something moving there. And then if I'm waiting to hear back from somebody, I shift over and I get something done with the business. So I basically learned how to manage both. But I'll tell you this, there's something that comes to mind in answering your question.
Yeah.
That I think is a mindset piece, right? Because I can tell you all the action things in the world, but we all know
there's a way of you thinking and how you're managing your mind. That's
right. It's starting here. And so for a moment there, for like that year, kind of between June 2020 and August 2021, for about 6 to 8 months of that time frame, I looked at my business and my full-time role as option A and option A. It wasn't like one superseded the other. It's almost like a mom with 2 kids. I'm going to give equal attention, right? Babies. I got 2 babies. I'm going to give equal attention to each of the babies. Like, there's no favorites. There's no plain favorites here. And it's not option A and option B. It's option A and option A. I had this amazing job, 6-figure salary, doing things. I went to school, my bachelor's degree is in communications. Like, I went to school for this. I spent 7 years trying to get into communications and I had made it.
Yeah.
Okay. But I was also dealing with I got moved. I had 4 managers in the last 12 months that I was at Wells Fargo. It was ridiculous. So not only was I managing massive amounts of change there, I was trying to scale my business as well. So like I had to come up with a thought of like, this is option A and option A. Someday I'm just going to have one. Someday that tipping point will come. I'll know when it's here. It'll come, but for now it's option A and option A. And I just with that thought in my mind, my brain went to work to say, okay, how can I figure this out? How can I balance both?
Yeah. How did you like this is even in my role, like my role with Luke is quite varied. Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm really interested in this piece in terms of managing energy levels and like for a variety of tasks.
Yes.
Right. And something like, I know this happens to me somewhat sometimes, is like, if I have like 10,000 different things, like as we're approaching events, right? Like this happening at the moment, as we're recording this, we're doing NTT. We're going into that. I've got NTT this afternoon. We had it on Wednesday. And then also next week, then we've also got 7-Figure Academy starting. And then the week after that, we've also got a masterclass. There's a lot of stuff around that I'm managing. And then the week after that, we've got a new course that we're also launching in there. And then the week after that, we've also got an Inner Circle Growth Day that we're managing. Yeah. Right. And so there's lots of like kind of competing priorities amongst all this mix, and people demanding my attention all the time, right, from these different kind of priorities. And then there's also hiring, right? I've got like in 2 hours time, I'm like onboarding a new team member. Right.
This is why Luke pays you the big bucks, hopefully.
Yeah, that's right. And so, yeah, I'm interested by like, I know for myself when I have lots of that kind of like task change / different demanding attention, sometimes it like I can feel it like draining my energy because I'm trying to like something demands my attention, and I can feel that I'm like there's a process there. It takes like 1 or 2 seconds of okay, what's going on over here? Where's that up to? What are they talking about? Catching myself up to that.
Yeah, I think for you, what it could be is a disruption tolerance.
Yeah, here we go. This sounds juicy.
Yeah, I just created this for you.
I love it. I'll work with that.
Let me see what amazing things I can pull out of my brain for you. So we know, so the brain, there's a motivational triad to the brain, right? First is seek pleasure, avoid pain, be efficient, or like do the easy thing. Okay, those are our 3 things.
Yeah.
So anytime something, like if we're moving on a track, you're like getting the NTT, right? Stuff like I'm in a zone. All of a sudden a new team member comes in and it's like disruption. And you're like, oh, freaking A. Like,
pretty much.
Like, can I just get this thing? Can I just finish this track, right? Because that is the way that your primitive brain is wired, is to be efficient, do the thing and get it done so you can get the great dopamine and other hormone hits of accomplishing something, right? But what I find a lot of people do well at, and I feel like I don't even know, you might be pulling this out of me, Callum, because, for 13 years at Wells Fargo, I worked for executives, whether I was an administrative assistant supporting them and making their life easier and smoother. And maybe that's part of it, is I know how to make someone's schedule super efficient, to executive communications where I'm like ghostwriting on their behalf. Okay, so I'm sidetracking. Okay, let's get back to the disruption tolerance. One thing that I noticed in studying all of those executives is the ones that get the most stuff done are the ones that reply to your emails like this. And you're like, how is it possible for you to reply to emails that fast? But I think the key is that they've developed a high level of disruption tolerance, right? That they can be on a track and be disrupted and they don't make it mean anything.
Yeah.
So if like we have a thought, like you're on your track working for something and someone pings you, you got to catch that thought. It's so fast, but you're having a thought. And that thought is creating a feeling of like maybe frustration or disruption or whatever. And then maybe the action that you play out in the world is like being kind of grumpy, right?
Yeah.
And the result is like the thing gets done, but maybe now you're beating yourself up for having, responded in a grumpy way.
Yeah.
Where the next time you're on a track, if you can start teaching yourself that a disruption comes in, you're like, this is cool. Like I welcome the disruption. If you think I welcome this disruption super fast, you get that in there, all of a sudden your body, you're feeling more at ease.
Yeah.
You're going to show up with that person or whatever that disruption is from a more peaceful, probably calm, cool, collected place. And you get the thing done and you feel good about yourself afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's like those thoughts, they can go so fast. I mean, we're kind of working with our prefrontal cortex and our amygdala. But again, if we can interrupt that and be like, no, disruptions are welcomed.
Yeah. Do you find like, this is a really interesting topic for me because this is like a real world problem that I deal with, right?
I love it.
On the daily. And
Alan's getting coached.
Yeah. Legit. This is like my opportunity to like live and record and get coached. So it's great. Like after watching those, and helping the executives be, higher and higher performance, like I've kind of played around with myself, like different methods in terms of tasks and in their relation with time and energy levels, in terms of, do I kind of allocate time blocks for during this period of time I'm getting out of all the things that demand my attention, and I'm just focusing on this task. All right. And, excuse the French, but basically, fuck everything else off. Right. Solves every one of the demands of my attention. I don't care. I'm focusing on this.
Mm-hmm. I got 2 things for you.
Yeah. Versus
because I thought of these earlier, and I'm like, ooh, Callum, I got to teach you my calendaring scheduling method, whatever.
I love it.
Okay, and then a book. Hang on one second. I'm going to grab a book.
Yeah.
Okay, so many of our peeps maybe have heard of this book. Maybe you have too, but this is one of my favorite books, Essentialism.
Essentialism, God damn.
By Mr. Greg, I think he pronounces it McKeown.
Greg McKeown.
Yeah, it's like meow.
Yeah.
The big phrase out of this, like the big takeaway, is focusing on the essential few versus the trivial many. Okay. I mean, look at all these tabs. I don't know what the
Yeah.
See all those?
Yeah, I can see.
Oh my word.
I love it.
I think it's a very easy read the way that he's laid this out. He actually has a joke about personal trainers in here in the beginning, so you probably appreciate that.
Yeah.
But yeah, here we go. An essentialist thinks almost everything is non-essential. Okay. Yeah. It distinguishes the vital few from the trivial many. Someone who's not an essentialist, they think almost everything is essential.
Yeah.
Like, I got to do it all. I have to handle it all. I have to do it all. And they view opportunities as basically equal. So an essentialist is just a really great discerner, right? They're able to take everything that's on their plate, if you will, or things that want to get on their plate, and they just have really great boundaries. So another phrase that's amazing from this book is he says, if it's not a hell yes, if it's not a resounding hell yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
So when you think about your priorities and what you've got to get done, and this is great for business owners, right? Where they have full autonomy and over what they're doing, but for employees, you can still operate in this way. You can still practice this while reporting to someone who's I'm expecting you to get, XYZ done. The other thing that I was going to share with you, so that book is amazing. The other thing that I do on a weekly basis when I do my weekly planning is I look at the various areas of my life. So when I worked for Wells Fargo, it was personal, Wells Fargo, business.
Yeah.
And I would ask myself, what are the 3 high value results I want to create for each of those areas? So for me at that time, I would have 9 things. What am I going to create this week? That's a lot. I don't recommend that for everybody. So now I just have personal and my business, right? So now I ask myself, what 3 high value results do I want to create for me personally and for my business this week?
What do you classify as high value?
High value. Well, for me and my business, it would be probably, for me, what keeps the lights on in my business and in my home is connecting with people, doing the lead generation. The way I connect with people is very customized. It's very high touch. It's very personalized. So it would be making sure that communications are going out and coming in and going out, that the communication flow is there with prospective clients. So that's high value. So it would be message 15 people this week. That's a high value result. That's a number that I could point to. Another high value result might be right now, I just launched my first group program. So I want to add value to that group. So a high value result for the group would be to get some instructions done. I want instructions on how to update your LinkedIn profile, how to enhance your virtual presence and environment, and how to prepare for an interview. So those are PDFs that my virtual assistant and kind of graphic designer is working on right now. So that's a high value result. That's going to add value to my clients.
And is that with the intent, in your business, do you kind of chunk up and kind of what's the purpose of this and ultimately keep the lights on, i.e. bringing revenue?
Yeah. So that's the other thing. So what are the 3 high value results you want to create? and why. So when I do this, it would be like, I want to finish up the PDFs for the group because. So I'm like telling myself why I want to do it. Like, I want to finish this up because. Here's some personal ones.
Yeah.
I hate vacuuming my stairs, right? Like, I can vacuum the main floor, whatever, but the stairs, it's like literally you're sweating. It is a workout. It's a lot of squats, it's a lot of biceps, it's a full body workout.
I get it. We have stairs too. It's
right. You know, and we have literally tried 3 different vacuums for the stairs. It's like, what is the magical vacuum that will like make this not so awful, but it's just awful. So anyways, back in the day, I remember doing this once, like, high value result is vacuuming the stairs because they're dirty and I don't want to think about them every time I climb the stairs. Like, it's taking up so much brain space for me to think about those stairs when I'm on those stairs because they're not clean. So that would be a high value result. I'm literally creating space in my brain, and my brain is the best tool I have. It is where I generate all of my ideas and my income, everything starts here. So the more space, the more I can get critical about what I'm focusing on, the more space I have to create valuable things.
Yeah.
Hey, sorry, I told you the dogs were going to bark.
That's right.
Oh, okay. I think they're barking at my husband. All right.
Fair enough. Yeah. So you do that on a weekly basis?
Yeah, Sunday nights.
Yeah, I love it. Do you expand that out to like monthly as well, and
Good
break
question.
it down to parts and or years?
I don't, but a person could. Like, I do. It's interesting that I don't do months. I do quarters. So I actually host a quarterly strategic planning meeting with other female entrepreneurs. Most of them are coaches or VAs, somewhere in there, in that kind of realm of things, in person. They're all here in Minnesota, where I live. And I come up with anywhere from like 5 to 10 questions that have us look back on the quarter of, okay, what went well, what didn't go well, what would we do differently? And then we look forward and we're like, okay, what's ridiculous? What's absolute, like, what do I want to accomplish? And then like, what would be ridiculous if I did? And so I think by doing those quarterly check-ins, I feel like I'm okay to do the weekly. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I have a good enough idea of where things are going every 3 months that then it's just weekly management.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Yeah, I love that. And so kind of bringing it back to what I was saying before, and it's something that I try and do already a bit, is like make things simpler rather than more complex. And do you find, / from your experience as well, that kind of with essentialism, that kind of like, just getting rid of all the other clutter, especially being a business owner. Like, there's 10,001 things you could be doing at any given time. Yeah. And so does that essentialism, that essentially then builds into that 3 high value results, because then through the week we're just focusing on those things.
So this, I changed the 3 actions or the 3 verbs. So it's an alliteration. So I actually learned from the life coach school. They call it Monday hour 1 and Friday hour done. So they would have all of their employees that work for the school on first hour on Monday, they do their planning. So they do this kind of very thing. And then on Friday, they actually ask themselves several questions of, again, like, what went well? Like, what did I do that I say I would do? What did I say I would do and didn't do? And then what were the obstacles that got in the way? That third question of looking back on what obstacles got in the way is gold. That is like money in the bank of like, oh, that thing got in the way. I'm not going to let that happen again. That's a really great way to raise your level of awareness. So Monday hour 1 and Friday hour done is their method. But when I do this, so on Sundays, this is what Sundays look like. I'll get with my Evernote or your notebook, whatever you're going to do, like your brain dump, get everything out of your head, everything that's floating around, everything you want to do. And then I get to the 3Ds. So this is the alliteration I was talking about. So you have your massive list of all the things that you feel you need to get done, quote unquote. You go through that list and you're like, okay, what do I absolutely need to do? What do I need to do? What can I delegate? And what can I delete? So the 3Ds, what do I need to do? What can I delegate? And what can I delete? And then that gets you down to a more prioritized list. Maybe your 3 high value results kind of come out of that list. And then you can focus on those and constrain. It's all about constrain, focus. It is about essentialism, minimalism. I strive to be a minimalist in a lot of areas. You and I were talking about branding in the beginning. I think you can even see it with my brand. It's like, it's minimal, but it's impactful.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way I want to live my life. That's the way I want to live. I want to work in my business. It's the brand that I want to have out there.
Yeah. Well, I want to get into that because I'm also conscious of the time, and this is like amazing. I'll send me your invoice.
Yes. I'll just welcome you to my weekly planning session. I'll teach you how to do it.
Yeah, come on in. I'll just charge it to the Luke Hawkins card for executive coaching for myself. It's great. I want to go into that in terms of branding, because that's like, it's kind of a funny thing to bring up, because that's one of the key things that made me think to get you on here was when you showed us your pitch slides during the inner circle, and I was like, damn. Basically, both Adam and I were talking afterwards, and we were like,
tell me what you were saying. I want to hear.
All very, very positive things. We were just like, we're commenting how they're very clean, very well put together. Just like, it's little things that I don't know, they make a difference to me seeing it in terms of like consistencies in everything, of like consistency in font, consistency in layout, kind of intelligent design from slide to slide to slide. Maybe it's like before this whole life I was doing engineering. And so maybe it's kind of that background of like, that kind of analytical side is like seeing how you're using formatting that changes from slide to slide in a logical way that actually kind of moves you, I guess psychologically.
It's almost a story, but not really. Yeah.
It's just, they were fantastic. And then looking before as well, checking out your socials and checking out your website and checking out your Instagram, your LinkedIn, it's all very well put together.
Omnipresence is what I call it. That's right.
I love the old word omnipresence.
Omnipresence. So no matter where you see me. It's all the same.
And I want to dig into that in terms of is that you? Is that your digital marketer / graphic designer? Where did you learn it? What's the go with that? Like, it's so on point.
Thank you. Well, I actually created the logo. The logo actually came off of, back in the day, moo.com, moo.com. I don't know if they're still around. I think they are. They're a business card company where you can buy your business cards and like flyers or postcards or whatever, collateral, marketing collateral. And they had this layout with the black circle with the J and the F, like, I could put my initials in there. And literally it started with that super simple design from this business card. And I took that and like turned it into what it is today. No joke. I selected all of my colors except for my I selected all of my colors. I literally call my like really bright red, Jamie Flora red. My friends laugh at me because I label things. I don't know where the design piece came from. I think having always, like, when I was an administrative assistant, I knew I wanted to get into communications and marketing, and I loved designing things. And I had a manager who was so amazing and so for my career development, personal and career development, that he literally bought me a $3,000 printer that was like 6 feet long. We rearranged my cube. We got it in my cube, and I worked in a building that had like 1,200 to 2,000, depending, employees in it. And I was like the poster maker and printer for the building. Like when we would have announcements, like food drive or, holiday gathering or just whatever, I would make these big posters for the whole building. And he even bought me Adobe Creative Suite. I think it was number 4 back in the day. And so I learned how to use InDesign and a little bit of Photoshop. And so I knew I had these like really great skills as a designer, and I had the skills as I was developing the skills as a communicator, a business communicator. And so I think all of that kind of just continued to grow into what you see today. So again, the blacks, it all started with the black circle from this little business card design, and I just took it and ran with it. Like my black is actually kind of like a black brown. I call it tobacco black. I have secondary colors that are a light blue and a light pink, and then the bold red. So I purposely, I feel like I really do like Japanese culture, and Marie Kondo. She's a organizer and a minimalist a little bit, right? And so you kind of can see that with the black circle and the whole like yin and yang. So I like the balance of the tobacco black and the bold red, like the masculine, with the secondary colors being a lighter blue and pink with the feminine. And so, yeah, I think what I created is just like, it is clean and it's simple, but it's balanced.
Yeah. What
people have even asked me, why doesn't your room look like that? Like now you get like into like white and green and flowers. They're like, where's the girl in the power dress? And I there are two sides to Jamie Flora. Like if you see personally, I wear a lot of like light pink and more feminine things. But when it comes to my business, I really love embodying that like bold, powerful, like persona, if you will. I draw her out, and she's just a boss, and she's super confident, and it's so fun.
Yeah. Where did you learn that at the coaching? It was institute or school?
The life coach school where I went.
Yeah, because you talk about different parts of the personality.
Yeah.
And about masculine and feminine energies.
Yeah.
And I don't think you've done that. Have you done that stuff with Luke?
No, I haven't.
Nah, because it's in some of the other programs we go into that a lot more. Definitely Seven Figure Academy, we go into that. Because that's what we find is a lot of people initially in business, especially in the coaching world, they haven't really fully connected into like that masculine side of, kind of getting shit done.
Yeah, I love it. I think, again, that's why I love Luke and what you guys are doing. It's that like execute like a boss.
Yeah. And even what you were teaching me before up here, this is incredibly masculine structured approaches to handling problems. Which is why I'm like going to town. I'm like, here we go. Just keep going.
I'm all about like, I think it is learning a balance. I think this is a part of you, of us and our journey. And I know we're at the top of the hour, but it's getting to know ourselves. Yeah. Like I was just showing a client, I have this photo album on Facebook called Hair Over the Years. And it shows all the crazy haircuts I've had over the years. I've been the hard ass. I've been the person who nobody's going to get in. I'm not going to tell you anything, super defensive, whatever. Like I've had the black hair, wore the rock and roll t-shirts with cowboy boots and ripped jeans, and like to the spectrum where I am now, to really embracing and like wearing pink and admitting I wear pink, and I like makeup and hair. But it's like learning and getting to know those sides and then drawing them out when the situation kind of is appropriate for them. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. That behavioral and personality flexibility is incredibly important. Like, I know we talked to a bunch of coaches about this, about like often as a coach, especially in the kind of life coaching space, people will be very much in their kind of like they're feminine, really caring, you know.
Oh my gosh. Sometimes kind of I'm sorry, too much. Like, like, it's good for a purpose. It's good for processing, but sometimes I do feel like we can kind of get stuck in there. And it's like, you know what? There comes a time where we just need to execute.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. That side in a sales call is not necessarily useful. Right. Like sometimes in something like a sales call, you need to be, you know, you need to lead, you need to actually say, let's do this, and be a little bit, you know, assertive and everything like that. You know, get things over the line. So yeah. Oh, I love it.
Callum's like, I don't want to stop, but you got a meeting.
Yeah. I'm just like, I'll just chuck you on the books every Friday, you know. Jamie, thank you so much for your time.
You.
I know, I definitely know I got a lot out of this. There's a whole chunk here where there's not even any timestamps. I just went to town. Poor Brock editing this. He's going to be like, are you writing a course here, Callum? But and I'm sure this will be really, really useful for people as well, consuming it. So really appreciate your time. And where can people find you?
Yeah, jamieflora.com. So JAM as in mom, IEFLORA.com. All the links are there. All the social links, all the connect with me, whatever links, they're out there. I even have a 30-minute networking. If you click on book now, you might get a 30-minute networking. So if it's a fellow coach that's watching this and they just want to chat, totally happy to do that.
Boom. There we go. Wonderful, Jamie. Thank you so much. I'll end the recording, but and thank you everyone for watching this as well. I hope you got a lot out of it, and watch the next one after this and the other ones, and we'll talk to you soon.